All right, here we are with um, producer letter number 4. And I've been covering each letter and giving my thoughts, and this is no different. So, I like to read these and I like to give my thoughts and opinion on them. I'm going to take my glasses off. I can see just fine without them, and they're giving me a headache. Okay, wow. All right. Hello again, everyone. Producer Moreno here. For this fourth producer letter, I'd like to go into some more details about the visual scripting system used by Action Game Maker. I want to start by saying I'm glad he's focusing and more on the maker that's being created right now. I think after everything, all the past letters, this is what I want them to get into. Talk about, what's being added, if anything's being added, what's being changed, those are the nitty gritty is what I like to find out about. So for this fourth producer letter, I'd like to go into some small details about the visual scripting system used by Action Game Maker. As you may be aware, there's a lot of competition in the quote non coding category of game development tools. Even just within the Godot community, or Godot, there's several no code assets available. Given this situation, I'd like to take a little time to clarify how Action Game Maker does things differently. So how the approach that they take is not the same approach as those tools. And I already know what they're going to go over because I've tried using no coding software before, and uh, uh, Game Maker Studio for example. Even though there's a way of not having to code by point click drag and drop, it's still coding at its base level. You still have to have a good understanding of things. You still have to have a good understanding of things. So it's still coding at a base level. It's just coding with a point and click interface. It's the difference between and just lines and lines of instructions and pointing and clicking and setting the instructions. That's the difference. It doesn't make it any easier, actually. It's for some people, not me. For some people, it's easier to just learn all the commands and everything and fill in the instructions or coding. For a lot of people, that's easier than point and clicking, drag and dropping. But the way that Pixel Game Maker does it isn't quite like that. You don't have to invent a means for creating jumping mechanics, for instance. There's adjustable jumping mechanics for a platformer built within, in Pixel Game Maker. So you don't have to set up gravity and all that. The gravity stuff and instructions like that in Pixel Game Maker are already set. I don't know why I explained all of that. He's going to explain that in this letter. But let's keep going. Uh, Given the situation, what makes it differently? Our strongest goal for development is to ensure that we have a system that is easy and approachable, even for people with zero skill at programming. And as somebody myself who's used Pixel Game Maker, you don't have to know any coding. Like nothing requires actual coding. Like a lot of instructions and presets basically for different types of things that you can make a character do in a game and interact with other objects, characters, whatever, is all just a matter of selecting an action. You're not programming the action is there, you just set the action and adjust it. Now, our thoughts on visual scripting. Visual scripting generalities. Okay. It can be reasonably said that most game engine based visual scripting systems are developed just a converting code from text to a visual structure. Indeed, this is how it was in Godot 3. Godot 3 used to have this thing where you didn't have to type in code. You could point and click the code, but it was still code at a base level. Okay? There was nothing preset that you adjusted. It was all coding at a base level. Okay? Let's keep going. For example, a person may want to implement a quote walk left. Oh wait, let's back up. I kind of skipped some things. Under such a structure, the knowledge needed to take advantage of the scripting system is quite similar to that needed by a programmer. While this does ensure that there is few limitations and that it is easy for someone using the system to easily switch to programming, it doesn't make it easier for someone without programming knowledge to access the system. Thus, the barrier to entry remains high. And that's what I was talking about a while ago myself. When you're the most of the point and click like non-programming programming is still programming. You're still having to program in things, just you're doing it by point and clicking. It's nothing preset for jump mechanics or anything that you adjust. You're literally having to go in, and instead of typing it out, you're point and clicking and setting everything. If this is this and this does this, instead of typing it all in, you're clicking this does this. You're just clicking. You've removed the keyboard from being used, and you're just using a mouse and click, 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 add, move. That's it. It's still, you got to have that base programming knowledge. If you're not a programmer and you struggle with understanding all that stuff, I do, that's not doing you any good. Game Maker Studio does this malarkey. It's, that's not easier. That's not easier at all. You still have to understand all this coding. Anyhow, okay. So, for example, a person may want to implement a walk left or right function under low-level visual scripting systems. This means the user needs to implement things like when left key is pressed, change the x variable to 1. When right key is pressed, change the x variable to -1. While x is less than 0, flip the walk animation and play, and other such sub-functions. Knowing which subfunctions are needed and how to implement them is a difficult task that requires a lot of knowledge and practical experience. He's right. I could never get into that. I was like, everybody's like, this is easy. You can figure this out. No, I can't. I'm not a programmer. I don't have a programmer's mind. Keep in mind, I failed math when I was in school. Okay? I'm not great with math. I still use a calculator for a lot of things. My brain just struggles with math, okay? So, if my brain struggles with math, obviously it's going to struggle with programming. You got to know so much. I'm not. So, Action Game Maker's visual scripting. With Action Game Maker, our intent is to improve our scripting system from Pixel Game Maker MV and make it even easier for those without programming knowledge to use. This is similar to our intent with the RPG Maker franchise as well. By careful writing of our UI text and explanations, it should be possible for new users to get started. The way that I read that out all wrong. I read that wrong. Wrong flow of reading that out. By careful writing of our UI text and explanation, it should be possible for new users to get started. That's the way I should have said it. I suck. We are targeting high-level conditions and actions that are human-centric, such as when the A button is pressed, move in the direction currently faced, when touched by another object, or lock on to the attacker while... Yeah, so all this stuff that you would have to type in and code in yourself, it's preset, it's pre-made, it's there. You just make adjustments, just depending on what you need. When touched by another object, lock on, blah, 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 as we are trying to link intent to language to configuration to an easy-to-follow chain. So yes, that's like I said, basically presets. Preset functions. The functions are there, you put the function in place, and you tell the function exactly how to behave. Do you jump this high? How much time to input? Do you hold the button to go higher in a jump? Those are all things that you would have to... Programming in yourself is a pain in the arse. Let me explain more using our current work in progress UI. Apologies for the Japanese screenshots, but no UI translation has been done at this time. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I will say I hate this. I like a dark theme. I would be switching to a dark theme. I hope there's a dark theme. I know that in Godot there's custom themes. You can change the colors up however you want, of fonts and everything. I don't know if they're going to have that. Maybe they'll have some pre-made ones put in place, but you can come up with your own and just keep that functionality. But anyhow, so yeah, looking at this is very similar to Pixel Game Maker's. Like this whole thing right here, this is how it works. And actually, in reality here, I can actually show you how it works. Ta-da! This is how I do it. This is the flow chart sort of thing. So basically, I didn't even know this until recently. That's a node. These are called nodes. I kept calling them actions. This is the actions. The links are the conditions. That's what I kept calling them, action and conditions. But they're actually just called nodes and something else. I don't know. Or maybe it's called a link and a node. But basically, it's like action and why the action. So this is idles where you start off at. So you'll press. I have it set to where if you press up, you go into this stance right here. But I also have like walking. So you press left or right. See, pressing left, pressing right, or goes into this animation and he moves around. Okay, and then for this it says released left and right. Both are released. Neither are being pressed. And it goes back to idle. And the same thing with the whip. Oh, hey, on press of Y goes into this, does a bunch of stuff within the action, so on and so. You can't see it because of my face is in the way. I'll move my face for a minute. Here we go. So you have these are part of the action. I keep calling these actions. I feel like action is a better word than node, but yeah. I keep calling these actions and conditions, which is what RPG Maker had. RPG Maker had actions and conditions. It was a listed thing on a page, but it's the same kind of basic knowledge. They're trying to make something easy for people to make action games. Um, and I guess it is good that they're going back to Action Game Maker, but I still would have liked to have had that thing at the end. But you can see the similarities. You can see the similarities. We go back here. I am noticing something. Maybe it's because they have it clipped out, they're not showing it, but I don't see the thing that shows the action, or not the action, sorry, the graphic for the character. I don't see any of that. Maybe it's not implemented. I don't know. But you can see the similarities. Of course, I wouldn't have a start here going this way, this way, this way, and branching out like that. I'd probably stick to how I do it, and if you can, I don't know, like this, ups and downs and ins and outs and everything. And I color my actions, by the way. I color each box for different types of actions. Um, like purple is usually it's supposed to be for attacking. So purples are attacking. So we have an air whip when he throws his whip. It's a Castlevania game. We have the standing whip and we have the squatting or kneeling whip. So anyhow, I'm getting all over the place. Our system uses boxes, sometimes called nodes. I just call them actions, but they say the actions are contained within the node. I would just call them action. I would stick with action. Action and a subset of actions uh, uh, that need to be, see, actions that need to be performed. These action boxes are connected via link conditions, which are represented by the arrow lines. Yeah, so these are the conditions. Like I said, conditions and actions. You have the condition for the action. You have the action that you start off as, and then you have the conditions for each act. But yeah, let's keep going. These action boxes are connected via link. I'm going to put my face back here. Um, Link conditions, which are represented by the arrow lines. When a condition or action box is selected, the right panel will update with the configuration information for the selected item. For this sample, we've configured it to use the condition of A button and when pressed. I'm assuming that means when pressed or pressing. You're pressing it, you're holding the button. Because there's holding button and then there's just hitting the button. You don't have to hold it, it's just like in Pixel Game Maker. I'll show you. For the whip action, you're not holding. Like I said, it's on press. Means you don't have to hold it. He just goes to this, does everything he's supposed to do. Once he's done, he goes back to idle. You can also just out of nowhere use the whip while you're walking. It'll interrupt the walking, go to the whip, and then go back to the auto. But if you're holding the button to move, it immediately goes back to the moving. It goes back to the walking. Um, this specific condition connects the movement and jump action boxes. Now let's look at the action configuration panel. This specific action box is configured to enable a wall grab. So this action will play the wall animation in the right orientation. It's also configured to ignore movement input, not change the orientation facing left and right, and ignore gravity. This means that until a new link condition is activated, the object will not update. It'll stay there. You'll just hang on the wall. You just hang there. So then, when you hit the button, whatever action you go to do next will change that. So, update. It is through the combination of actions and conditions that will allow full games to come together. I showed off some of the easiest to understand items today, but fire projectile, move in direction of orientation, change variable, and more than 50 additional actions will be available. So they're coming up with, it sounds like, unless I'm misunderstanding, it sounds like there's more that's going to be available in this than there was in Pixel Game Maker. Pixel Game Maker is pretty limiting. It's got a lot of it. There's a lot you can do, but there's a lot you can't do. And I'm pretty sure some of the newer stuff they've added is added there because they figured out that Godot can do things, and they're like, let's make that accessible easily for the end user, and so they added more additional actions. So a lot of the stuff we're used to, and then more, and then more. And I just want to throw out there one thing I'm hoping they add for the next one is the ability to lock an object to another object and unlock it from an object. I'm so frustrated with Pixel Game Maker in that I can't have an object lock to me and change what it does and then just unlock it. So say you want a mechanic where you pick an object up that's sitting in the environment and then throw it, and then maybe it lands and then you pick it up again. Instead of generating an object, you use the object in the scene. The object is then told connect to that point, connect to wherever on the other object, and then disconnect. There's got to be a way to do that. There's so many gameplay mechanics that or gameplay, like there's just a lot gameplay wise with something like that that you could do if they would just do it. Now there's workarounds where you can touch something, hit a button, it'll disappear it, but then pretend like it appears on you, but really it's just generating a duplicate. But that gets complicated, that gets absurd when you're throwing that object and then having to have it come back, just having it do a lot of different things. That is redonkulous. So I'm hoping that they add something for that. There's games I want to make where I pick things up and throw them at enemies, and I can't do that in Pixel Game Maker, and I'm hoping they'll add that to Action Game Maker. I don't know if they'll see this video, but that's something I would like. Anyhow, what was I talking about? Where was I? Oh yeah, so 50 additional actions will be available. Some people feel that this could be limiting what can be created with such a scripting system, but based on our experience with this system in Pixel Game Maker MB, people were able to create platformers, puzzles, simulations, shooters, fighting games, and other genres aside from that. And they're right, there's tons of stuff you can make with very little to work with. Please tell me my brother's not coming out of the fucking room. I hate trying to work on something. I'd be glad when he gets moved into his own place. Some people feel this could be limiting, blah, blah, blah. They talked about, yeah, for example, you can take a look at the titles that we released on the Nintendo Switch. Really, anybody who's watched my channel, you can watch my channel and you'll, anytime I had a video I was doing Pixel Game Maker stuff, yeah, there's stuff you can do. You don't have to know a ton of, programming and access to a bunch of stuff just to pull things off. So I'm guessing they feel that this will be something that people can do in Action Game Maker, considering that it's made with Godot. Since we are implementing basically all functionality from Pixel Game Maker MV, Action Game Maker will have at least the same level of variety. We hope that our users will have fun figuring out how to implement all sorts of different mechanics in our system. I want them to add some things. There's some things that I want them to add. I want them to add, well, primarily, I want to add a way to lock an object to another object. There's got to be a way to do that. There's been gameplay mechanics I wanted to do, but it was just became just so it became frustrating. It became frustrating. I'm trying to figure out a way to do certain mechanics, can't do certain mechanics. It doesn't work because they don't simplify it enough. You have to jump through hoops to imitate a mechanic, and it's so frustrating. And I would much rather them add some things. Hopefully they will. Scripting improvements over Pixel Game Maker MB. Now a little bit of information for those who are already familiar with our scripting system from Pixel Game Maker MB. I'm sure you're all wondering what might have changed now that we're based on Godot. Firstly, a number of the actions are based on Godot functions. Our display text action is based on label node, and display gauge is based on Godot's progress bar. So it's stuff that's built into Godot already, and they're just giving you access to it. We're not intending to reinvent functions in Action Game Maker that Godot already provides. We're also leaving in Godot properties. This means you'll be able to use the quote adjust node properties action in to adjust things like coordinates, visibility, and more, just like you would any other variable. This ensures that node properties can be adjusted dynamically. For our more advanced users, we are including an action called send signals. Signals are a Godot system that allows a node to notify other nodes when something happens. With a quote send signal action, you'll be able to send a database record or object variable as a signal to another node. It is expected that this also will make it easy for those who can also write GDScript to switch between our visual scripting and GDScript. With our previous effort, there was a lot of limitations in accessing base engine functionality due to how the abstraction was performed, and that caused a lot of issues for our users. We're paying a lot more careful attention this time to make sure that our abstractions are providing accessibility without creating a divide between Godot and Action Game Maker. And we apologize for the short notice, but we will be attending the Digital Games Expo 2024 being held in Akihabara on Akihabara. Is it Akihabara? Habara. Akihabara. I'm just going to say Akihabara because I'm a Yank. I'm from the U.S. I'll just stick with that. Action Game Maker will be available for anyone to get their hands on. An acrylic stand will be given out as a present to everyone who gives it a try. It is my hope that many people will stop by. I want to see people. Oh, I hate that they threw Sample over that. Why would you throw that over that? He kind of looks like a Belmont. He's got that chain thing on him. Maybe that was the idea. One of the early things that they mentioned early on when they were making this is they want to have something in place for people to make Metroidvanias, as people call them. You know, explorative action platformers is what I call them. Explorative platformers. That's what something that they said they wanted to have put in place. So yeah, that's all for this month. Please look forward to my 5th letter coming this November, and thank you for your continued interest in Action Game Maker. Okay. So they mentioned what was it? With a previous effort, there was a lot of limitations in accessing base engine functionality due to how the abstraction was performed, and that caused a lot of issues for our users. I think that might be alluding to issues like I was having, where I was like, why can't we just tell an object to connect itself to another object and then disconnect itself? Of course, they said, oh, it would cause all these errors and issues, and if it wasn't done right, and yada, yada, yada. I don't mean to be rude, but don't make excuses this time. If somebody can suggest something, figure it out. Where there's a will, there's a way. I don't know. Every time there was something I wanted to do, I couldn't do it. I'm not a programmer, though, so it doesn't do me much good to have access to everything Godot has the GD script wise. I don't have that ability, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be too negative about this. I'm looking forward to it. I'm still irked a bit at the fact that it's literally just Godot. I'm a little irked at that. Which, by the way, I found out something. Godot doesn't want to start up very quickly for me. Pixel Game Maker starts up quicker than Godot for me. That's not good. Like if I turned on Godot right now, it would take a bit. But if I started up another instance of Pixel Game Maker, it pops up just lickety split. So that's another thing that's kind of irking me. But yeah, so these right here is basically the same as what I have in Pixel Game Maker. It's all this, but I hope it's not limited to this, where it's off to the right. And like, I don't think it is. I think that's just what they're doing. What is this right here? There's a thing here that we don't know what it is. What is all this right here? Anybody else seeing this? Hang on, I'm gonna open in a new tab. Anybody else seeing this right here? What is this? I don't know what these symbols are. Is this something interesting I would like to know about? I don't know. Game scene player. It's Godot is a confusing thing, especially if you're used to Pixel Game Maker. Godot is confusing, and this is literally just Godot with some stuff they're adding in to make game development easier. I'm still a little meh about it. I'm a little miffed about it. I'm a little oomphed about it. But yeah. I like getting as close up a look as I can. Visual script action link. Okay. So this is the link conditions right here. This is all the stuff that you do. Pressing the button and something something. And then when you look over here, these are the other actions. So this is the visual script action. Okay, for the action, because it's an action. The action nodes and the condition links. So right now this is editing the action, not so much the link. And then this one is on the link, which is the condition for telling it what to do. And you can tell that they kind of went in and kind of chopped off some parts of it to where you only see certain things, because they don't want to give too much away. I think they're trying to leave stuff for people to find out later. I guess maybe I might be wrong. So yeah, that's that one. This is I'm still hopeful, but I'm a pessimistic. I'm very much a pessimist. And if something works and it works well, I hate seeing it change. And I hate the UI in Godot. I've tried getting used to it and I can't. I got used to Pixel Game Maker, and I love Pixel Game Maker. I'm not nuts about the limitations. Apparently, you're gonna have access to like screen filter stuff and everything, just all sorts of stuff that you'll have access to. Um, I'm still irked by the fact that they're putting in a RPG Maker like auto tile function. Only because if it's anything like it is, and I hate this, if it's anything like it is in in current day RPG Maker, I hate it. I hate it so much because I mean, if they're gonna do an auto tile, it needs to be auto tiles like you would see in RPG Maker XP. Had the best auto tiles. It just did. It was 3 by 3, 3 by 3 grid. You could fit plenty of detail. And when you're making an action game, you don't want to be held back by too many visual limitations. That's why everything I ever make in Pixel Game Maker in the scenes, hang on, let's find the stage, is tile by tile by tile. It is not done with ignore that and ignore that. Okay. it's a lot of it's done with tile by tile. I draw with tile by tile because the auto tile is just it's it's not good. It's not good. I don't know if I'll be able to edit their auto tile system. I would love it if you could access the auto tile system and edit it to work differently. Like if out of the box it works in a way that I can't stand. If I want to tinker with it and try to figure out how to make it more like what I want, that would be nice. You can do that in Pixel Game Maker, but I don't understand a lick of the coding that it uses. I don't under it uses Java. I think it's JavaScript, and I'm just sitting there going, I don't understand this. I don't get it. So I don't know. Still looking forward to it. Pessimistic about it. Not sure. Just yeah. I don't know. I don't know. But we're gonna see how it goes. This has been the goof. Um, yeah. I'm going to continue regardless of what's going on with my personal life and my depression. I want to keep doing videos where I read the letters and give my thoughts. So if there's one constant that's going to keep happening until the release of Action Game Maker, it's going to be me reacting to the letters, giving my thoughts. And that's it. I'm out.